When I first saw his name light up my phone, I thought it was a mistake. Ethan never texted me, not directly. He was Emma's fiancé, not my friend. We shared group chats, holiday dinners, polite smiles across tables, but never private messages. So when his name appeared on my screen that night, 11:47 p.m., the time decent people were asleep, something in my stomach turned before I even opened it. I can't stop thinking about you. Please don't tell Emma. At first I laughed, the kind of nervous, breathless laugh you give when something doesn't make sense yet. I stared at the message until my eyes blurred. My thumb hovered over the screen, heart hammering, trying to decide whether to delete it or reply. But I didn't reply. I locked my phone, put it face down on the nightstand, and stared at the ceiling for hours, tracing the cracks I hadn't noticed before, listening to the hum of the refrigerator in the next room. The next morning, the world looked the same. But I didn't feel the same. Emma and I had been friends for 13 years. We met in college. She was the loud one with wild red hair and a laugh that made strangers turn their heads. I was quiet, the note-taker, the one who reminded her of deadlines. Somehow we balanced each other. We went through everything together. Heartbreaks, first jobs, broken leases, the awkward years of trying to become adults. When she met Ethan 3 years ago, I remember thinking, finally, someone who can handle her fire. He was calm, steady, the kind of man who fixed things, leaky faucets, broken hearts, tangled situations. Or at least that's what I thought. The first time I met him, he brought flowers. Not for Emma, but for me. To thank you, he'd said, for keeping her sane all these years. I thought it was sweet. Looking back now, it feels rehearsed. That morning after the text, Emma called me like she always did on her drive to work. "Coffee later?" she asked, her voice light, happy. "Ethan's been acting weird. Maybe you can help me figure him out." Weird. The word landed heavy in my stomach. I forced a laugh. "Sure, noon." When I hung up, I looked at the unread message again. The dots still sat there, silent, like a bruise that wouldn't fade. I told myself it was a mistake. Maybe he meant it for someone else. Maybe he was drunk, tired, or confused. Maybe I was overreacting. But what if I wasn't? At the cafe, Emma was glowing. One of those people whose happiness filled a room before she even spoke. She had a wedding binder open, pages filled with color swatches and seating charts. "You think peach or blush?" she asked, holding up 2 fabric samples. I blinked, forcing myself to focus. "Blush, right? Ethan said the same thing." She grinned. "You two always agree. It's so weird sometimes." Her words hit differently now. I watched her talk, her ring glinting in the sunlight, her eyes sparkling when she said his name. She had no idea. I felt like I was sitting inside a secret I didn't want. When she got up to take a call, I glanced at her phone on the table. Same case as mine, same floral design. We'd bought them together last month. I thought about the message on my own phone, still sitting there like a time bomb. For the rest of the day, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was cracking quietly beneath us. Something small, but deep. That night, I deleted his message. Or at least I tried to, but the thing about secrets is, once they're in your mind, they never really disappear. 2 nights later, another message came. "You felt it too, didn't you?" My hands went cold. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. I wanted proof in case things got worse, and they did. The next time I saw Ethan was at Emma's engagement dinner. He looked the same. Confident, charming, that easy smile that made everyone trust him. When he greeted me, his hand brushed mine just a little too long. No one noticed. But I did. During dessert, he raised his glass to toast Emma. "To my best friend," he said, looking right at her. Then, after a heartbeat too long, his eyes shifted to me, and to the people who make love possible. It was subtle, just enough to pass as poetic. But his eyes told a different story. I felt sick. That night when I got home, I found a 3rd message waiting. "We both know this isn't wrong." "We just started too late," my hands trembled. I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. But how do you tell your best friend that her fiancé is in love with you when you're not even sure if it's real? That's where it began, the unraveling of everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and friendship. And the worst part? This was just the beginning. After that third message, I started noticing everything. Every glance, every pause, every time his name came up in conversation. It's strange how once you sense a crack in something, you can't stop staring at it. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. That maybe I was the problem. That the messages were innocent and I was giving them meaning they didn't have. But then came the looks. Ethan started showing up in places I didn't expect him. One morning, I ran into him at the small bakery near my apartment, the one tucked behind the flower shop where I always grabbed coffee before work. He smiled like it was fate. "Didn't know you came here," he said, hands in his pockets. He was wearing that same navy jacket Emma loved, the one she'd once joked made him look like a movie star. I remember noticing the faint smell of cedar and his aftershave, the same one he'd gifted her on their first anniversary. "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "Every morning. Guess we have the same taste," he said. "Coffee and people." That last word stuck in my mind long after he left. I remember staring at the sugar packets on the table, my coffee going cold, wondering if I should tell Emma right then and there. But what could I say? Your fiancé flirted with me in a bakery? It sounded ridiculous. That evening, Emma called me again, excited, breathless. "He's been planning something," she said. "I think he's going to surprise me. He's been acting so secretive." I gripped the phone so tight my fingers ached. Secretive. That word cut through me like glass. "That's great," I said quietly. She giggled. "Don't act like you don't know anything. You're terrible at lying. If only she knew." That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying his messages in my mind, reading them in his voice. The way he said, "Please don't tell Emma." The way he made me feel like I was part of something forbidden. I hated that a part of me, a small, trembling part, was flattered. Days passed, and Ethan's behavior became harder to ignore. At a Sunday brunch with mutual friends, he chose the seat next to mine. When Emma went to grab more food, he leaned in, his voice low. "You didn't answer me," he whispered. "Because there's nothing to answer," I said. "You felt it," he insisted. "That connection." "I know you did." My chest tightened. Around us, people laughed, plates clinked. Someone was telling a story about wedding decorations. And yet, it felt like the whole world had gone silent. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. "Excuse me?" I muttered, heading for the restroom. Inside, I locked the door and gripped the sink. My reflection looked pale, foreign. My pulse thudded in my throat. What was happening to me? How had I, the girl who prided herself on honesty, become part of something that felt so wrong? Later that night, Emma sent a photo of her and Ethan smiling, arms around each other, their matching wedding mugs in hand. "Can't believe I get to marry my best friend," she'd captioned it. I stared at the picture for a long time, then turned off my phone and cried. It wasn't guilt alone that broke me. It was fear. Fear that if I didn't stop this, I'd lose not just her friendship, but the person I thought I was. The next morning, I decided to confront him. I waited until Emma was at work and texted him, "We need to talk." "Stop texting me," he replied instantly. "Then meet me. One last time." I didn't want to, but something inside me needed closure, to look him in the eye and end this mess before it went too far. We met at the same park where Emma had once told me he proposed, by the lake, near the old willow tree. When I arrived, he was already there, leaning against the railing, sunlight catching his hair. He smiled like nothing was wrong. "You shouldn't be here," I said. "You came," he replied simply. "That means something. It means I'm telling you to stop." "This is wrong, Ethan." "Wrong?" he repeated. "Or just inconvenient?" The audacity in his tone made my skin crawl. "She's my best friend," I said. And you're the man who's about to make a huge mistake if I marry the wrong person, he interrupted. I'm not happy, and you know that. His words were smooth, practiced, like he'd rehearsed them. Emma loves you, I said. Emma loves control, he shot back. She loves the idea of a perfect life, and I'm just a piece of that. But you... He took a step closer. You see me? For a moment, I froze, because part of me, the tired, lonely part that had been single for too long, wanted to believe it. Then I pictured Emma's smile. Her laugh. The way she'd once told me, "You're the sister I never had." And that's when I stepped back. No, I said firmly. This ends now. I turned and walked away before he could answer, but as I reached my car, my phone buzzed again. A message from him. You'll regret this. You think she's innocent? Ask her what she's been hiding. I stared at the screen, confusion twisting into dread. What did that mean? What could Emma possibly be hiding from me? And just like that, the guilt I felt began to shift, turning into something darker. I didn't know it yet, but that message would change everything I believed about my best friend, and about love itself. I told myself to ignore Ethan's message. It was just another manipulation, another attempt to drag me into his mess. But his words wouldn't leave me. Ask her what she's been hiding. They echoed in my head like a whisper I couldn't shut off. That night, when Emma called, her voice light, excited, bubbling with wedding talk, I tried to sound normal. But something in me had changed. You okay? She asked suddenly. Yeah, I said too quickly. You sound off. Just tired. She paused, then laughed it off and started talking about the caterer again. But while she spoke, I found myself studying her voice, searching for cracks I'd never noticed before. The next day, I met Emma for brunch. The same little cafe we'd been going to since college, a place that smelled like vanilla and nostalgia. She looked radiant, wedding glow they call it. But when she pulled out her phone to show me a new photo of her dress, a notification flashed on the screen. A message. From someone named Unknown. And though it was quick, I caught a single word before she turned the phone over. Tonight. I tried to ignore it. Tried to focus on our food, on her laughter. But I couldn't stop wondering. Who texts a bride-to-be tonight from an unknown number? After brunch, I walked home in silence, the city buzzing around me. I told myself I was overthinking, but deep down, I knew I wasn't. That evening, I got another text from Ethan. Still think she's perfect? You're sick, I replied. Maybe, but I'm not the only one lying. And then another message. A photo. It was blurry, taken from a distance. But I recognized the street, Emma's street. And the car parked outside wasn't Ethan's. My stomach dropped. By midnight, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to Emma's house. Her lights were still on. I parked a few houses away and sat there, heart hammering. I don't even know what I was looking for. Maybe the truth. Maybe proof that Ethan was lying. Then I saw it. The door opened, and a man stepped out. Not Ethan. Older, tall, wearing a coat I'd seen once before, in a framed photo on Emma's mantel. Her father. Except, that couldn't be right. Her father had passed away 5 years ago. I blinked hard. Looked again. It wasn't her father. But it was him, Emma's boss. The same man she'd always claimed was like a mentor. The same one who sent her flowers after every big project. The ones she said were from the team. He hugged her. Not a friendly hug, but the kind that makes your chest ache to watch. Then he kissed her, and Emma kissed him back. For a long time, I couldn't move. I just sat there, frozen, gripping the steering wheel until my fingers went numb. The shock didn't even register at first. Just this heavy, ringing silence inside me. She'd been lying to me. To Ethan. To everyone. All those nights she'd called me, crying about how hard wedding planning was. She was living a double life. When I finally got home, I threw my phone across the bed and just sat there. I didn't cry. I couldn't. It was like all the emotion had drained out of me, leaving only disbelief. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A message from Emma. "Hey, are you up?" I stared at it for a long time before replying. "Yeah." "Why?" "Just wanted to say I'm lucky to have you." "You've always been my person." The irony nearly made me laugh. Lucky? If only she knew what I'd just seen. The next morning I met Ethan. I didn't plan to. He was waiting outside my building, dark circles under his eyes. "You saw it, didn't you?" he said. I froze. "You knew?" I asked. "I didn't know who," he said, voice low. "Just that there was someone." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Would you have believed me?" He wasn't wrong, so what now? I asked quietly. "Now," he said, "we tell her it's over." He looked at me like he expected me to stand beside him, as if this was our secret now, our shared truth. But I couldn't. "No," I said firmly. "You tell her." "I'm done being in the middle of your mess." I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. Not roughly, but desperately. "You think she deserves to walk away clean?" he said. "After what she did to us?" "There's no us, Ethan," I said coldly. "There never was." He let go, his jaw tight. "You'll regret protecting her," he said softly. I didn't answer. That night, I blocked both of them, Ethan and Emma, thinking that would be the end of it. But 2 days later, a video surfaced. It was on social media, shaky, recorded on someone's phone. A woman in a white dress arguing with a man in a tuxedo outside a wedding hall. Their voices muffled, but the emotions unmistakable. Ethan and Emma. And as the camera panned closer, you could hear it. His voice breaking, hers trembling with rage. "You lied to me," he shouted. "You don't own me," she screamed back. Then she slapped him. Right there, in front of everyone. The video went viral in our small town within hours. By morning, Emma's wedding was called off. I thought that was the end of it, until I found an envelope on my doorstep. No name, no address. Inside, a single note. "You wanted the truth? Here it is." And a photograph. Me and Ethan at the park. Someone had taken it that day when I told him to stop. From a distance, my stomach twisted. Someone had been watching us. That's when I realized. This wasn't just a love triangle. Someone was pulling strings, watching, waiting, recording. And Emma's betrayal was only the beginning. For the next 2 days, I barely slept. Every sound outside my apartment made me flinch. A car door, a phone vibration, the hum of the refrigerator. That photo had changed everything. Someone knew I'd met with Ethan. Someone wanted me to see it. I kept thinking about Emma, about the way she looked at people. Always one step ahead, always in control of her image. But even she wouldn't do something like this. Would she? The envelope didn't have fingerprints, no handwriting to analyze, just clean, careful printing. It felt calculated. I started checking my phone obsessively, scrolling through messages, social media, everything. Then I saw it. A new account had started following me. No profile picture, no posts, just a name, Truth Taker. And the first post on their feed? The photo of me and Ethan. My stomach dropped. The caption read, "She says she's innocent, but everyone's hiding something." Within hours, people I knew were texting me. My coworkers, my cousin, even my neighbor downstairs. Everyone had seen it. The comments were brutal. Some said I was the reason the wedding was called off. Others called me a homewrecker. I wanted to scream, to tell them I didn't do anything wrong. But the internet doesn't wait for explanations. By sunset, I drove straight to Emma's house. Her car was gone, the curtains drawn. But I didn't care. I pounded on the door until my knuckles stung. "Emma, open the door." No answer. I was about to turn away when a car pulled into the driveway. Not Emma's. It was her mother. She looked shocked to see me there. "Oh, you," she said, clutching her purse tighter. "Is Emma home?" I asked. "She's not taking visitors." "She's not taking accountability either," I snapped. Her mother's eyes softened just a little. "She's not well," she said quietly. After everything that happened, I wanted to believe that Emma was breaking too. But part of me wondered if this was another performance, another layer of her perfect mask cracking just enough to gain sympathy. That night, I received another message from Truth Taker. You think she's the liar? Look in the mirror. Attached was a short clip, grainy, black and white. Security footage. It showed me outside Emma's house the night of the envelope, standing on her porch. But in the video, someone else was behind me. A shadow near the curb. A man. He wasn't facing the camera, but I recognized the way he moved. The slope of his shoulders. The hesitation in his steps. Ethan. I confronted him the next morning. He didn't even look surprised when I showed him the video. You think I'd do that? He said. It's you in the footage, Ethan. I came to talk to you, he said defensively. To make sure you were okay. You left an envelope on my doorstep. No, he said quickly. That wasn't me. His eyes darted just slightly by to the side. He was lying. You wanted to ruin her? I said. You couldn't stand that she moved on. She didn't move on, he spat. She replaced me before the wedding even started. There it was. The anger. Raw, unfiltered, desperate. She deserved to be exposed, he said. But I didn't want you caught in it. Well, you failed, I said. Now everyone thinks I'm the villain. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. You were always the good one, he murmured. That's why people believe the worst. They don't expect it from you. I stared at him. This man who used to seem broken, now twisted by bitterness. Stay away from me, I said coldly. From now on. And I left. But it wasn't over. That night, my phone buzzed again, this time not from the mystery account. From Emma, we need to talk. I didn't want to. Every instinct told me to block her again. But something in her tone, the absence of her usual control, made me pause. We met at the cafe the next morning. She was wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy, her hair tied back in a messy bun. No makeup, no smile. You've seen the videos? She asked. Everyone has, I said flatly. He ruined everything, she whispered. You mean Ethan? No, she said, voice trembling. Not him. The other one? I frowned. What other one? She looked around before leaning in. Someone's been following me, sending me things, pictures, of us, of you. My heart skipped. You think it's the same person? I don't know, she whispered. But they know everything, even things I never told Ethan. For the first time since this began, I saw her scared. Not guilty. Not angry, just scared. Emma, I said carefully. What did you do? Her eyes filled with tears. I thought I could control it. I thought if I just ignored him, he'd stop. Who? My boss, she said finally. It wasn't just an affair. It was blackmail. My blood ran cold, she explained. He'd found out about her engagement, about Ethan's money troubles, and used her vulnerability against her. Threatened to leak things, ruin her reputation, destroy the wedding if she didn't comply. He said if I ever told anyone, he'd make sure I lost everything, she said. And now? I think he's still watching. I wanted to hate her. But in that moment, I saw the truth. The cracks beneath the perfection. The fear beneath the lies. We need to go to the police, I said. No, she whispered. If we go to the police, he'll know it was me. She reached across the table and gripped my hand. The same hand she'd once held when we were kids, crossing busy streets together. Please, she said. You're the only one I can trust. I should have walked away. But something in her voice, maybe guilt, maybe loyalty, made me stay. That's how it started. Two women bound by betrayal, trying to outsmart the man who thought he owned both of us. But I didn't know then that by helping her, I was walking straight into his trap. For a few days, Emma and I moved like ghosts. We avoided calls, stayed off social media, and met in parking lots and coffee shops that didn't have cameras. It felt like we were planning a heist, except the only thing we were trying to steal back was our own peace. We'd decided on a plan, gather proof of her boss's messages, his threats, The recordings she'd hidden on an old drive? If we had enough, we could take it to a journalist, not the police. Emma didn't trust them. She said he had connections. The kind of man who didn't lose, just shifted the blame. He ruins people quietly, she said one night. He never yells, never threatens outright. He just makes you disappear. That line stayed with me. We met at her apartment 2 nights later. Her lights were off, blinds drawn, laptop open on the kitchen counter. She was typing furiously when I arrived. "He knows," she said without looking up. "What do you mean?" "He logged into my account an hour ago. I saw the notification. The drive she'd mentioned was sitting next to her, small, silver, shaking slightly in her hands. "We have to move now," she said. "Tonight," I nodded. We decided to upload everything to a secure cloud and send it to a journalist she'd met months ago, someone who had exposed a local politician. But just as we started the upload, the screen went black, her laptop shut off. "No, no, no," she whispered, tapping the keys. "Battery?" I asked. "It was plugged in." Then the phone rang. "Unknown number," Emma froze. "Don't answer," I said quietly. But she did. Her voice trembled as she said hello. Then her face went pale. I couldn't hear the other side, but whatever he said made her knees weaken. "Please," she whispered. "Don't do this." Then she hung up and looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. He said it's already done. The next morning, it hit the internet. A full article, published under a fake blog, screenshots, partial videos, even pieces of the recordings, edited to make her look like the manipulator. The captions painted her as the one blackmailing him. Within hours, the story spread like wildfire. She was trending, not as a victim, but as the villain. Emma exposed. Your corporate affair. Liar bride. It was the same sick cycle all over again. Only this time, I wasn't just watching, I was in it. Because halfway through the article, there was a new name. Mine. They called me the accomplice. Said I'd been helping her leak private data. That I'd been emotionally involved in the plan to destroy a man's career. And the worst part? The screenshots looked real. By noon, my job called. They said they needed to temporarily suspend me pending investigation. I wanted to scream, to show them the real messages. But I realized the real ones were gone. My phone had been wiped. All backups corrupted. It was like someone had reached into my life and hit delete. That night, Emma called me from an unknown number. Her voice was raw, almost broken. He said if I don't disappear, he'll send everything to my parents, she whispered. "Emma, listen to me." "You don't understand," she said. "He sent me a video of you." My heart stopped. "What video?" "The night of the cafe. He was filming us. I felt sick. Every conversation, every whisper, all of it recorded." "He's watching us," she said. "He's always been watching." Then, silence. The line cut off. I tried calling back again and again. No answer. The next morning, I drove to her place. Police tape covered the door. A neighbor told me there'd been an incident. An accident, they said. No one was giving details, but I knew, before they even said her name. 3 days later, another message came. Different number, same style. Just one line. "You shouldn't have tried to save her." Attached was a picture. The same cafe table where we'd met. 2 coffee cups. Both empty. That's when I realized this wasn't just revenge. It was a pattern. And I wasn't his first or his last. The days after Emma's death blurred into one long, sleepless night. Her name was everywhere. News tickers, gossip blogs, social media posts filled with half-truths and sympathy disguised as curiosity. But behind the noise, I could sense it. Someone was still watching. My inbox filled with messages from strangers. "You should be ashamed. You ruined a man's life. How much did she pay you?" I stopped opening them after a while, but the damage was done. My phone might as well have been a ticking bomb. Every vibration felt like another reminder that I was next. I didn't go to her funeral. It wasn't because I didn't want to. It was because I wasn't invited. Her parents believed the story they saw online. They thought I had helped their daughter destroy herself. When I tried calling her mother, she answered once, her voice trembling through the static. "Whatever this is, please stop," she whispered. "We just want to forget." And then she hung up. The guilt sank deep, the kind that doesn't scream, just aches. I tried to move on, but the world around me didn't let me. At work, people whispered. At the grocery store, strangers looked a second too long. I even caught a man taking pictures of me outside my building. When I confronted him, he smiled, that quiet, knowing smile that felt familiar. "He says hi," the man said softly before walking away. That night, I realized something that chilled me more than fear. This wasn't random. It was all orchestrated. Every text, every headline, every disappearance. Someone was playing God with our lives, and Emma was just the warning. I opened the old flash drive she'd given me before everything spiraled. It was small, scratched, with her handwriting on a sticker. "In case of emergency." When I plugged it in, it showed one folder. Inside were dozens of files, screenshots, recordings, names. Not just of her boss, of multiple people, executives, reporters, influencers. They were all part of something, a network of manipulation and cover-ups. I saw timestamps from meetings, hotel rooms, phone logs. Each name had a note next to it. Asset, threat, or neutralized. My hands trembled as I scrolled. And then I found one more folder. It was titled L. Inside were photos of me, everywhere. My apartment, my office, even the park I used to run in. He'd been tracking me for months. Even before Emma told me about him, one file was labeled Potential Replacement, and next to it, a message. She's perfect, loyal, naive, isolated, easy to control. My breath hitched. That's when I understood. It wasn't about Emma anymore. It was about me. I didn't go to the police. I couldn't. Who would believe me after everything online? So I did the only thing left. I decided to play his game. I reopened my social accounts, posted a smiling picture, and waited. Within hours, a new message appeared in my DMs. Different name, same tone. "You handled that beautifully," it said. "You're stronger than she was." I replied, "Who is this?" "A friend. Someone who believes you deserve better." I knew it was him. I could almost hear the smugness through the screen, so I leaned in. I pretended to trust him, let him believe he was reeling me back in. Over the next few days, the messages grew more personal, like he was peeling layers off my fear. He told me things no stranger should know. What time I left work, the brand of perfume I wore, the color of my bedsheets. But every word he said was another clue. Every mistake he made was another thread I could pull. One night he slipped. He mentioned something about the view from his balcony. So I traced it, searched every high-rise apartment within a mile radius of where Emma used to work. Cross-referenced timestamps from the pictures on the drive. And there it was, a reflection in one of Emma's photos, a skyline. Same angle, same pattern of lights. He wasn't hiding across the country. He was 3 blocks away. That night, I walked to that building. My heart pounded so loud I thought he might hear it from above. The security guard barely looked at me as I entered. When the elevator doors opened on the top floor, I stepped out into silence. The hallway smelled of pine cleaner and faint cigarette smoke. There were only 2 apartments. I knocked on the first. No answer. The second one had its door slightly ajar. Inside, I saw faint blue light flickering from several monitors. I pushed it open. The room was filled with screens, dozens of them, showing security footage from around the city. Some were offices. Others were homes. And on one screen, at my face, I froze. The cursor moved across the monitor like an invisible hand, opening a new message window. The keyboard clicked, but no one was there. "Took you long enough," a voice said behind me. He was calm. Too calm, dressed like someone who had nothing to hide. Crisp shirt, no emotion. He smiled as he walked closer. "You're smarter than I thought," he said. "That's why I picked you." "Picked me for what?" "To finish what Emma couldn't." I stared at him, the weight of every lie, every headline pressing down on my chest. You killed her. She killed herself, he said with a shrug. I just gave her the truth. He circled me slowly like a teacher explaining a lesson. Do you know what people crave? He asked. Chaos. They'll believe anything if it makes them feel superior. Emma gave them that. And now, he tapped my shoulder lightly. You will too. You're sick, I whispered. No, he said softly. I'm efficient. He leaned in close, his breath cold against my ear. Smile for the cameras, darling. You're already live. I turned. Every screen in the room was showing me. A live stream. Thousands of viewers. Comments flooding in. There she is. That's the girl. She's lying. He'd been broadcasting everything. Every move, every word, twisted into a new narrative. I did the only thing I could. I smashed the nearest monitor, sparks flying across the floor. He lunged, but I was faster. I grabbed the flash drive from my pocket, Emma's last gift, and shoved it into his main system. The files uploaded automatically. Every name, every recording, every dirty secret he'd kept, all of it sent to the world. He screamed, yanking cables, but it was too late. The data was gone. The feed switched from my face to his. For the first time, the world saw the man behind the chaos. The fallout was instant. Headlines shifted overnight. Corporate predator exposed. Authorities stepped in. Investigations reopened. His empire, the company, the fake blogs, the online puppets, all collapsed. He was arrested a week later. But the victory didn't feel sweet. It felt hollow, because Emma was gone. And no matter how much truth surfaced, I couldn't give her peace. I stood by the ocean the day her story finally aired. The real one. Wind tugged at my hair and I could almost hear her laugh again. You did it, I whispered. You won. A single gull cried above me, the sound fading into the horizon. That's when I realized justice isn't loud. It doesn't come with applause or forgiveness, it just arrives quietly when you're ready to accept it. It's been 2 years now. I moved cities, changed my name, deleted every trace of who I was. Sometimes I still check over my shoulder, just in case. But every time I look in the mirror, I remind myself, I survived the story meant to destroy me. And I lived to tell it. I don't know if the world believes me, but that's okay. Because truth doesn't need believers. It just needs to be spoken. So if you're listening to this, and you've ever been made to question your own reality, don't stay silent. Someone out there is counting on your voice. Would you have gone as far as I did? Tell me in the comments, and remember, not every message is what it seems.